Good evening everybody, how you doing? So yeah, a little bit later than I planned to upload this. It's Sunday evening, sorry. Holy crap, there's a big old spider. Hang on. Well, it's not that big, it's maybe jump. Still is a funny looking chap. Anyway, apologies for that. Let's get back to that. Anyway, yes, where were we? So yes, Sunday evening afternoon. I had planned on getting a video up yesterday, but I just ran out of time. Had Anne's family over yesterday, her little nephews and whatnot, and they take up most of the day. Don't know what he's doing. Yeah, they take up most of the day. So yeah, here we go. Trying to straighten this up again now. I'm using the the other facing camera, so I can just about see a reflection in the back mirror, and I think I'm more or less lined up. So yeah, apologise if I'm off to one side or the other or something. But anyway, yeah. So the last video I did was obviously about my ears, and I said this next one here, I will discuss a little bit about what I plan to do with the nose. I say nose modifications. Excuse me. Nose modifications have always been some of my personal favourites, and I've always planned on pushing my nose quite away, a lot further than you tend to see people do. Like, everyone sees big ears anyway, and there aren't too many people who seem to go with the big nostrils or even big labrets and stuff like that. But it's something I've always wanted to do. Well, I say always, since I was 17, 18 years old, and I was browsing the old BME websites. I've always loved the idea of having a very, very modified nose. So yeah. Obviously right now the only thing I have now is my septum, after removing the bridge a couple of weeks ago, which, just a little while down that, is settling down quite well. I'm still rubbing lots of oil on it. Don't know how much softer it will get than it is now. A lot of the tissue on the inside where the fistula used to be is softened right up, which is really nice. But yeah, it's still early days yet. There's been, what has it been, a week or two at most now, so still a little way to go, and I'm sure it'll soften up a little bit more. But yeah, so thanks to that, now the only thing I have is my septum, which is, I believe, coming to the end of its stretching life cycle, which is a shame, because I had hoped to get it a little bit bigger. I still might do as yet. It's taken 28mm again, absolutely perfectly. No problems whatsoever. Don't know exactly how well you can see, but no problems whatsoever. It just keeps sliding about because obviously I have to use lots of oil to get it up my nose, and so it slides about a lot once it's in my nose. And I have a habit of smiling with one side of my face more, which twists my whole nose around so it slides out and pops out the other way. But yeah. So yeah, the septum, obviously I had hoped to get it up to 30 to 32. I'm still hopeful that sometime further down the line I might be able to get it a little bit bigger still. But I'm not holding my breath, and I'm not planning on doing that in the near future. At the very earliest, I'll probably be left at this size until next sort of spring, summertime, when the weather starts warming up. If it already has a little thin spot somewhere around here, wherever it's gone, the last thing I want to be doing is stretching it at all in the winter when the weather gets cold and end up with frostbite on the end of my nose. That's the that'll be pretty much the worst thing that can happen, I should think. So yeah, it will be a while. If I do try to stretch it again, it will be a little while. But yeah, so the other piercings obviously I want on my nose. First of all, I do want my bridge piercing back, like I said before, and I do still hope to actually get it to a slightly larger gauge. So I like the idea of it being around a ½ inch, around sort of 12, 13-ish millimeters, something like that, and just wearing a very small tunnel through it. So what I might end up doing is actually either piercing it or, where's that spider one? How's that there? Is either piercing it or having it scalpeled to a slightly larger gauge to start with, and then stretching up a little bit from there. Just because that might make it a little bit easier to get to a goal size, given that there's now going to be lots of scar tissue in the middle there. So yeah, that will again, that will be a little while. I might well just pierce it again, just to see if it works, and just have a bit of fun with it. I always like to just experiment and just see how things go. That's part of why I do all these random little things, just to see if I can do it and what happens. It's starting to rain. I hope that's not making too much noise. We're actually in my little conservatory at the moment. And yeah, it's raining on the roof. So yeah, I apologise if it's suddenly getting noisy. But yeah, we have, yeah, so other than that, I would obviously like to get my nostrils pierced and stretched. I've always loved the look of really, really big nostrils. And I think originally I wanted basically nostrils as big as I could possibly get them. But I figure there's probably a limit. I mean, you don't want to end up with, or I personally wouldn't want to end up with sort of 4 or 5 inch nostrils just hanging over my face. I don't think I'd ever go quite that far, but I've always liked the idea of getting them somewhere between 1.5 and 2 inches. So probably closer to the 1.5 mark, somewhere around the 40 millimeter mark, 40, 42, 44, somewhere around there. And I was looking about a little bit earlier just before this video, and I actually found some old tunnels that are just about, I think they are either 40 or 42 millimeters. So just to give you a rough idea of my ideal size of how big I would like to get them. I don't know if I will ever even get them this size. It might never happen, but I'm just curious to see if I just can get them to that sort of size. So yeah, literally that sort of size. Try and give you a bit of a rough idea. Hopefully I'm more or less in the middle of the camera. Something like that on each side. And just to give you an idea of how they would actually flare out. So yeah, that would be, that's probably what I will actually get pierced next. I've been thinking about doing it a lot for over the last year or so. I've really been wanting to actually finally get started with the nostrils. So that will probably be something I do in the fairly near future. I have a friend who is a very good piercer who works in Bury St Edmunds, which is about a 40-minute drive from here. So I will probably go to him to actually get those done. And so he's, I've known him since I was probably a teenager. Yeah, probably teenager, late teens, early 20s at the very latest. He, I think, something like that anyway. So yeah, I will probably be going to him to actually get things pierced. And to be fair, probably most of my piercings I will probably go to him for. But yeah, so that will take a long time anyway to get them pierced and stretched to a very large size. I will be starting at just a regular size, either a 14 gauge or maybe even a 16 gauge, just because I like the process of stretching. I like, rather than just having things instantly, I like the effort that you have to put in to actually keep them healthy, and I enjoy seeing how they actually change and adapt. Spiders moving about again. How the piercings themselves actually change and adapt and alter the shape of your face as they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it might even be a case of that's a weird looking spider. It might even be a case if I get to a size smaller than my goal and actually decide I like that. So I wouldn't want to start too big and then instantly decide I wish they were smaller. So obviously the easiest way of doing that is to start smaller and work up. So yeah, that will be the plan with them. And so once they are done, maybe not necessarily once they're done, but at some point when I 100% decide I've stopped stretching my septum, as I've mentioned before, I would like to get several septal piercings around the edge. It will probably be, I like the idea of just about 6, I'd imagine. Literally starting all the way down, going all the way up to the top here, which is about as high as you can actually get on my, here before you get into the hard cartilage. What tiny bit is left of the hard cartilage up here. So I will probably get 6. I like the idea of 6, maybe 5, 6. Depends on, at some time I will properly sit down and measure it all out and figure out exactly where I want them. And say, yeah, 5 to 6. And I would like to stretch them up just a little bit and get some sort of jewellery made, probably similar in style to like mini labret plugs that are the same width as the jewellery and just fit flush with the actual septum jewellery. And so I'd end up with, yeah, just 5 or 6 little tiny plugs all the way around the outside of the septum. And I have considered I'm not sure if I've ever said this before or not in a video. I have considered doing the same thing around the actual nostrils. I don't know what they'd be called. Something, I guess they'd be something like a transverse nostril piercing or something like that. I don't really know. It doesn't really matter what they're called. But so the idea would obviously be having the big plug or big tunnel, and then having a similar sort of thing as the septrals around the septum, but obviously having tiny little piercings around the edge of the stretched nostril as well. That's something, I feel like I've got something stuck on my face now. That's something I've considered doing for quite a while as well. But again, that will be a long, long time in the future, because I won't even think about doing that until I've actually started, until I've actually finished or more or less reached a goal size with the nostrils, which, yeah, that will probably be, might be 10, 15 years from now. So yeah, that's something way, way down the line. So don't have to worry about that for any time soon, which is good. But yeah, and the other thing is, again, once I do finally, hopefully, if I do reach a goal size, a large size with the bridge, something else I would consider doing would also be having, essentially carrying on the septrals up through the bridge. So I'd have one or two little studs pierced through the bridge in the same way that they would be pierced through the septum or the nostrils, just so it would give the appearance of the sort of the little line of septal piercings continuing up through the bridge as well. That would be interesting. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that. It completely depends on exactly how big I end up going with the bridge piercing, and it would be an interesting little experiment to try. But yeah, whether that will ever actually happen, I don't know. It's one of the less likely ones, I think, that will actually happen. But it's something to aim for further down the line, and just to see if I can do it. Who knows? And yeah, that would be all of the actual piercings. The only other thing I have considered doing is, because obviously, if I stretch out big nostrils, what tends to happen with when you have a big septum and big nostrils is that it makes the front of the nose very flat, and it's not something I find particularly aesthetically pleasing. So something I have considered looking into further down the line, once I have the big pieces in, so it would probably end up my whole nose more or less being like a flat triangle at the front. But what I have considered is actually going to an artist. It would have to be someone who is quite talented, someone like Samba, for example, and getting the tissue just shaped a little bit. That would probably involve cutting out almost a small crescent shape or a small triangle shape into the actual flat bit of the front, just so it's a bit more, don't know how to explain it, but a bit more of a curved shape. But that would be probably pretty much the last thing right at the end of everything that gets done. So yeah, I think that's more or less everything. I don't think I would ever get my nose tattooed. I have considered the odd little thing here and there, like possibly just little lines or little dots, just sort of from the bridge of my nose down, and things like that. I've considered stuff like that on and off in the past, and I have considered in the past, when I do have very large stretched nostrils, having the edge of them tattooed solid black as well. But I don't think I will ever do that. I don't know. Again, like all my ideas, they tend to come and go and change and adapt over time, and I think of new ideas and decide against old ideas. So all of this is just purely speculative for the time being, but who knows? It'll be an interesting little adventure just to see how things go. Anyway, it's getting late, as it's starting to get dark, so I'll call it quits here. Hopefully you can still see me okay. That's one of the reasons I haven't been doing videos very much during the week at the moment, is because it's starting to get dark before I even get home from work, and I don't particularly like doing them just with artificial light indoors. I'd rather have a bit of natural light. So I'm going to have to try and I think I have to go back to what I was doing before, making several videos in one go during the daytime of the weekend and then spreading them out over the week as I post them. But yeah, anyway, don't want to yammer on for too long, because I'm actually nipping out to the cinema soon. Gonna go watch the new Rambo film, so that'll be fun. Gonna go watch that wearing my girlfriend's clothes, so yay, that'll be fun. Anyway, yeah, hope you've found this video interesting, and it's raining again. hopefully hopefully you found the video interesting and somewhat mildly entertaining. And I will speak to you all again soon during the week. I've got a couple of ideas just for a couple of daft little videos that I might try and get filmed in the near future. But yeah, see you all soon. Ta-ra for now. Enjoy your lives and all that good stuff. Ta-ra.